Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to the channel. I thought I would share the video. Today is Greta's birthday.
Yay.
Had a great breakfast, and I thought I would include her in this video. I know she always wants to join me. So I asked her basically this morning to prepare for this. I want, as her coach, I think sometimes athletes don't have that. I think the on the back of the curtain, kind of behind the scenes, what happens as a coach. Where of course I coach Greta. She's won two of her divisions or two shows and one overall. This 2024 year when she was competing. So I thought I'd just ask her maybe to give some insights to you, all of the athletes out there, maybe that she's picked up. I can always tell from a coach's point of view what I always see the athletes do, and how I try to kind of preemptively, sidestep landmines. But I think Greta has, I told her to think about that and to share some thoughts she might have, some thoughts that she might have about that. So let me hand over to Greta.
Okay, well, so I've been an athlete now since 2012, and I think I've made a lot of mistakes and learned a lot down the road. So I think number one that I would say to, if you are trying to be an athlete or want to prep for 2025, is responsibility. If you want to do a show, it is your responsibility. It's not your coach's responsibility. You have to do your check-ins on time. You have to stick to the plan, because it's easy to point fingers afterwards, but you can only point the finger at yourself. So you need to make sure you follow the plan.
That's a very good point. I always think that's why I'm always talking about mindset with you guys, to take responsibility and accountability for your actions, because your results will be better. Regardless of what you tell me you do, you really need to do what you should do. And the only way to do is that, of course, is responsibility for your own actions.
And then the second thing is consistency. You need to make sure you follow the plan 100% to see the actual effect of the diet on the body. Because how can you expect your coach to make a change if you did not follow the plan? Because then the results is not real. So he's going to make a change and you won't see the result of the change. You won't see the effect of it. So you need to follow the plan 100%. And I think after a 2-week period, you should be able to recite your diet from the top of your head. You should know exactly what you should eat at what time. And if your coach asks you to recite the diet for him, you should be able to do it after you follow the plan for 2 weeks. So my advice would be, for the first 2 weeks, look at the page with the diet every single day. Make sure you're not accidentally measuring something wrong because you thought it's this amount and it's actually supposed to be that amount. Because I've made this mistake in the past, where you would read the diet the first or the second day, and the third day you kind of think you remember it, but you don't really remember it right. So just the first 2 weeks, look at the page every day and make sure you can recite that thing
off by heart.
Yes, and then I am actually following the diet. I know exactly how much gram of this, how much water per meal. I know exactly I'm doing everything right, and I'm not missing a vitamin here or a fat burner there or this. You know exactly what comes where.
That's a good point, Greta, bringing up that, and it actually comes down. All those were basically was that with consistency, Greta,
yes,
right?
Consistency.
So the thing is, those are small tips for you to be more consistent. Where these people were always looking for, more tips and tricks, I guess. But if your real intention is to be successful, and consistency is something you see get preached over by your coach and by top athletes, if you think about, I need to be consistent with my diet, then these actions, what she's talking about, is things that you would do anyway. You stressing about things, you're going to do things that normally people do that stress about things, right? So if you want to be consistent, you need to do things that people do that are consistent. If you don't know what that is, Google some shit, Google it and see what AI, there's so much help with AI these days. Google it and see what they say about consistency. See, oh wow, I didn't think about this. And these are things that I hear athletes say over the years. I've heard them say many times, they didn't think about this, they didn't think about that. But if your intention is success, and these things have been told to you that are the building blocks for success, how do you forget about them? How do you put them off? You know, most of my tattoos are reminders of things like that. Balance, control, all these small things that I know bring success. Do not forget this, because those are the things that I need. Not particularly just a diet or a training program, but you know, acquiring the discipline to be consistent on a diet or on a training program 100%, and being committed to that will bring success. So I see Greta made about 5 points. I think the third one's a very long one, but I'm going to shorten it for you. Number 3 is do as you're told, and that is out of Greta's mouth.
Yeah, do as you're told. Basically, you're paying your coach for his knowledge, for his advice. So if you are going to follow your own rules and make up your own diet, then why the hell did you pay him to make a diet for you? So if you ask your coach for a diet, your opinion does not matter. You listen to what he says and you do it. You have to trust the process. And I think I've made a few errors in the past. A quick example would be, I was told to take 30 grams of almonds, I think twice a day. And because I ran out of almonds, I decided to use peanut butter, and I just assumed it might be around 1 teaspoon of peanut butter. So I took that instead, and I was so tired the 2 weeks of doing that. And I told Kobe, like, I can't understand, I don't have any energy. And he's like, but what did you change? Because he didn't change anything on the diet. And I told him, while I'm taking the teaspoon of peanut butter, and he told me that that's like 10 grams compared to 30 grams I'm supposed to be taking. And fats, it's a big part of, like, your diet should be 20% of fat. So now taking too little of that can make you feel tired, it can make you feel depressed. And also I wasn't taking a lot of carbs because we're already on a restricted plan. So some little small minor mistake like that can have a big impact. So instead of me just asking how much peanut butter, I mustn't just assume I can take this or that amount.
That's a very good point. I always tell athletes, especially when they compete with normal people, if normal non-competing athletes, people in general, I always say the public, you know, or normal individuals, if they had to follow the diet, they'll get amazing results, because the diets are worked out to be optimal in the sense that you will have enough energy, but just enough energy, so that we can burn as much fat as possible. If you undercut the calories, or, you know, if you undercut it, you're going to have adverse side effects like Greta was having. Now her energy is very low and she's getting demotivated, and that is not sustainable. You're not, first, if your mind doesn't go, the body will go. One of the two. I've seen athletes that have been able, with strong mind, to push right through diets like that, but then you get, they'll start crashing, they'll start falling, like, you get bad side effects of these, of when an athlete, I want to say, over diets. In other words, when they are very strict, they can have the bad side effects of over dieting, because they ignore these red flags. Where Greta tells me, at least, she says, you know, I'm very tired. Usually I'm not this tired so far out, or this so far out from a show. Usually I feel like this maybe a week or two, you know, if we're really pushing it and she's really got her cardio up, because then you're in a very high deficit, or maybe in a larger deficit, and, you know, you're just working a little bit harder.
Yeah, and another example is the whey protein, where Kobe told me to weigh 30 grams of protein. I was just taking 2 scoops because on the container it kind of says that 2 scoops is 30 grams. But then if you actually weigh it, you see that sometimes the 2 scoops is 40, and sometimes it's less than 30, and sometimes it's not consistent. So you are throwing around your protein amount, and it is affecting the whole diet, because it's worked out to be this much protein, this much fat, and this much carb. So just that little small mistake can have such a big impact and put you maybe back 2 weeks where you could have had more progress. Yeah.
And number 4?
Number 4, be honest. If you made a mistake, there is no fooling Kobe. He knows this diet should give this result. So just be honest and tell him, I did this, or I did not do this, or I made this mistake, or just be honest, because at the end of the day, you don't want to waste your time, you don't want to waste his time, so just be honest so that he can correct it.
And Greta's saying now for me, but in any coach, you know, be straight, be very honest with your coach, because honesty will get you better results than lying. You know, even if there's a set out plan, because sometimes coaches would work out plans long ahead of schedule. I always have a kind of plan. If I work with an athlete, they've got a goal. We have a kind of custom time frame of where I want him or her to be in certain spots. And if they're not following the plan, I need to adapt it. But adapting that plan would mean that perhaps that athlete doesn't reach their goal. If they already start, you know, not following the diet 10 weeks ahead of time, if we only have 12 weeks to do something or 16 weeks to do something, how are we going to get the best result in that time if you are not following the plan? So you can get the best if you start today. Today, moving forward, you know, we always say, you know, people say always tomorrow, then it's always going to be tomorrow. If you can commit, then you stick to that. But anyway, yeah, Greta.
I think the last thing is, like, I live with Kobe and he's my coach, and I think for some couples that can be very dangerous or make it difficult, but it should not be. And even if you're just staying with your partner and you're both competing and you both need to be dieting, it comes back to you need to take responsibility. So I need to take responsibility for my diet. It is not his responsibility. He doesn't want to feel like the police the whole day trying to tell me I need to stick to the diet, or I can't eat this or can't, because I won't like hearing it from him and he won't like telling it to me. So I need to take responsibility. I need to do the right thing so there will not be an argument, because we will both be happy with the result at the end of the day. So for couples competing together, you don't want to argue afterwards saying you hold me back, or you did this, or you didn't do that. If you both just take responsibility, there will not be an argument and you will be very satisfied with your results at the end of the day.
There we go. Thank you, Greta. So that was kind of a little bit of an insight to Greta being an athlete, and also an athlete of mine. And maybe this helps you with the year to come. Maybe you're working with a coach. Always know, you know, I would even advise athletes to get coaches and get, you know, especially when you're starting out, you need to learn things, you know. And I always recommend reading up. I like reading things. But when you get out, let's say 12 weeks from a show, then there's none of that. Then there's no talking to multiple coaches. Then there's no reading up and trying new things. If you're working with a coach and it's 12 weeks out, follow the plan. It's only 12 weeks. You got the show. Then you know, back in the day, we used to compete a lot. You know, we used to compete 6, 7, 8 times a year. Where now athletes are only competing 2 or maybe 3 times. That would be a lot for some athletes. And I think back then we worked out a lot of things just through trial and error. So you get a little bit of an expectation of yourself a couple of weeks before the show, of how you should look. And sometimes it can be a good or bad thing, you know. So being an athlete myself, being a coach, having to have had coaches in the past, and then being my own coach, you know, at the end of the day, I would still need to follow all these things as an athlete. You know, even if I'm my own coach, need to be responsible, need to be consistent. I need to do what the plan is, do as I'm told. I need to be honest with myself, which is sometimes I think the most difficult for people coaching themselves, because you convince yourself very easily. You're really literally inside of your coach's head, which is scary and not always a good thing. And yeah, you're also living with yourself. So a good and a bad, I guess. Okay, guys, that was my last video for the year. It has been a fun journey trying to do this as I committed, and I'm happy that I succeeded. Let's see what happens next year. The channel will take a little bit of a turn to something new, maybe 2 or 3 videos a week, and I'll still set out a plan for that and decide how I'm going to do that. So I would really need to change my whole mindset around the channel, and the whole I think approach. So let's see what happens.
And then from my side, just for 2025, I think you can focus on to build your confidence and to set a goal for yourself, a private goal, and then stick to it and do it. And once you achieve that goal, you will learn to trust yourself, and that will be building your self-confidence. So trust yourself in 2025.
That's a good tip. Happy New Year, guys. Cheers.
Happy New Year.